Hello, everybody. We're back. I'm Tom Sosnoff. He's Dylan Radigan from the tastylive studios in Chicago. This is Truth or Skepticism. Mr. Radigan, how art thou?
Very good. Nice to be seeing you.
Good to be seeing you as well.
Nice to be seeing you.
I guess we had a week off in between due to crazy U.S.
Some July 4th in there.
Yeah. What is this so-called July 4th holiday anyway? Don't they know we've done away with midweek holidays? Every day is a holiday now in America. Every day is Christmas.
Every day. Listen, I've been trying to be short this stock market to no avail, and so I'm starting to believe that the only path forward is higher. I had a conversation with Josh earlier. He said that attempting to be short the stock market it's a path for a life of suffering and pain.
Yes, 2 days ago you told me it was the end of the world as we know it, and I mean, I don't really listen to you, so I'm just using you as an excuse for my own losses. But I am a little short here, and it is not working. It is balloon, not working. But anyway.
Not working.
Truth or Skepticism is a weekly podcast that Dylan Radigan and myself have been doing now for a long time, going on, closer to the end of our first decade. So we cover different topics every week, and this week, no different. It was suggested from our production team that we should talk about something that I wrote about this weekend in the Cherry Bomb, but also some topic that's been hotly debated on Tasty over the course of this week, which is deadlock and inaction and the inability to, maybe the market is where it is today because the likelihood of things changing in America is slim to none, which is really surprising to me because if you read the headlines, you would not think that the chances of things changing in America are slim to none. On the one hand, you would think that we are under the guidance of a group of unknown advisors, or we could be under the future guidance of a group that's going to destroy our democracy. But that's what you would get if you just read the newspapers. In reality, the stock market just says, hey, you know what? I don't think you guys can change anything. And I think that what's good for the market today is going to be good for the market a year from now and 2 years from now. And we're just going to buy everything in sight because they're not building any more condos along the lake. I don't know what it is.
Well, no, so I was thinking about this, and forgive me because I chopped my chin shaving earlier, so I'm trying to not bleed in public. But
yes, not bleeding in public, not bleeding on air, Dylan, would be an uptick for this network. But yes.
But I was thinking about this topic, and I was thinking, what does it say about our government that the best that we can hope for from it is that it is useless, that it is expensive but useless albatross. That the only thing worse than a high tax, totally horrendous, non-functioning, multi-trillion-dollar government that is useless and paralyzed is a functioning government, which is perceived to be worse for the stock market and the economy than the one that we have.
That's pretty.
And I'm not saying
that's pretty damn funny. That's good. That's pretty damn good. That's good.
And so why are we paying so much money for a government that we're terrified if it works, then we'll never be fucked. If the government did something, then the market will go down. Why are we paying taxes? We're paying taxes to pay like a bribe. It's like a mafia deal where like we got to pay them.
No, I don't think that's it. I think we're paying taxes to keep everything else going and to keep the rest of the world, safe and out of conflict and things like that. It's kind of, we're the global peacekeeper, and on top of that, we have social responsibility and things like that to everywhere else in the world. But I think you bring up a great point. We are basically suggesting exactly what you said, that a non-functioning government in the U.S. is much preferred over a functioning government.
That the worst thing for the stock market would be a government that's capable of doing anything.
Exactly, because anything is very much an unknown. I was talking to our production team before, and we were laughing about preparing for this segment today. And one of the things I said, which I don't think anybody necessarily disagreed with, was if either candidate was running against nobody. So in other words, we'll put Trump up against nobody, and we'll see how much of the popular vote he gets. I don't know if he wins the popular vote against nobody. And if you put Biden up against nobody, I think it comes out at almost deadlocked if both candidates ran against nobody. Just the idea, I'd rather vote for nobody. And I think that's the situation we're in. And I don't think it would be that big a difference in the popular vote if either candidate ran against, literally against nobody.
So, listen, we can kind of go round and round with this, but the national consensus is obviously that the U.S. government is best when it is non-functional, that 5 out of 6 Americans do not want Donald Trump or Joe Biden to be the next president.
Yeah.
But because the stock market is sure that basically one of those two people is the odds-on favorite to be the next president, and that because the market is sure that neither one of them will be likely to make any material changes in government policy, that ultimately the stock market's in great shape.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what the stock market is saying. I think the stock market is basically, I think you just nailed it. I think that's it. And it's not that the government's not functioning. It's just that the government functions fine. It's just that it doesn't change anything in the current status quo so that everybody is very comfortable and investors are very comfortable. They're not worried. They're not worried about what any of the proposed changes will do to the stock market. That's it.
And they're not worried about what any of the proposed changes will do because they think that there'll be very limited changes because they believe that ultimately they'll have that the government will have limited power to limited levels of organization in and of itself to coherently do anything that it theoretically is empowered to do.
Right. Exactly.
No meaningful change in tax policy, no meaningful change in energy, healthcare, whatever, regulatory, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
And that whether it's Biden or Trump, that they're really unlikely to affect any change of any kind in anything.
Yes. And so as we have talked about this week, the market likes the slop. We consider this the slop. So we're right there. We're just, that it doesn't get any better than this. That's the only explanation, by the way.
So I would say, so then, but I would say the only thing better would be to have a reduction in taxes.
Yeah, but unlikely to.
A market that does nothing but collects less money to do nothing is the only thing better than an expensive government that does nothing.
Yeah, but unlikely to. If you lower taxes, you're unlikely to. I think it'll be a negative at this point because if you lower taxes right now, it's going to create other issues because you got to make up the deficit somewhere. And the thing with either one of these candidates is they're both lame duck, so they don't have to worry about the next election. So I don't think there's going to be that much I don't think there are any significant tax changes. I mean, forget about, removing income tax like Trump's talked about. Forget about lowering corporate tax. I don't think any of that stuff happens. And if on Biden's side, I don't think that any significant tax changes would be made to raising taxes either. I don't think he'll get any of that stuff through. So I'm not really that concerned about changes in the tax code and that kind of, changing the stock market at all.
At the same time, you, like me, are skeptical of the stock market for reasons that have nothing to do with the presidential election.
Yeah, of course. I'm skeptical of the stock market simply because I believe in gravity. I have this crazy belief in gravity sometimes, and I also think that it's not healthy. I don't like one-dimensional markets are really bad for future outcomes. They just don't work. One-dimensional markets lead to one-dimensional markets in a different direction that will scare the children. And I'm starting to think we are very close to seeing that. And I don't really want to see that. It's not fun.
So what do you want to see?
I'd like to see a market that is more cyclical in the sense that it's I don't care if the market grinds higher or grinds lower, but the key for me is grind. I do care about these 10, 15, 20 straight up days, 2 straight months without a downtick. 1,000-point S&P moves without a blip, without even a intraday downtick. Those are the kind of things that have a way of normalizing. Low implied volatility has a way of normalizing. Now, it might be 300 days from now, but it will normalize, and the longer that it takes to normalize, the uglier the normalization will be.
Aren't you much better to trade from the long side just by virtue of positive drift and the fact that more often, more of the time, the market will go higher? So while the normalization obviously will happen, the number of days you have to be wrong in order to be short on the day that you're right, which is sort of a universal issue with being short. So that if you're short at the right time, obviously it's a very profitable and positive thing. But the issue with a prevailing short position is it becomes marginally or substantially expensive to continue to hold it through the number of days that you are wrong. And I'm interested in how you sort of reconcile that, especially with a medium or smaller size account.
Nobody reconciles that. You can't reconcile that. It's as traders, we always look at it. That's the cost of being stupid. It's the cost of having an opinion. And sometimes traders don't recover from it, and other times, they do. I've been lucky I've always been able to recover. But I mean, for sure.
Have you recovered because eventually you're right, or have you recovered because you reverse your opinion in some way and participate in a higher probability, although lower profitability, but higher probability?
I never reverse my opinion. So the only way I recover.
That's obviously not true. Come on.
I rarely ever, I would say close to never reverse my opinion. I would say that the only reason I survive through all this time is because I do not increase my size. I don't get a bug up my butt that says I know I'm going to be right, because I'm past that. I know I can be wrong. So I don't let it destroy me, but at the same time I never reverse my position. It's impossible to reverse your position. You have to
risk management. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to say it's just impossible to reverse your position.
Going back to the original topic, do you think that there's I mean, obviously it's sort of just purely a matter of opinion. One could argue that Trump is unequivocally the front runner right now.
You could argue that on paper he is, but I would argue that one of the reasons that the market is so strong is because they actually don't think Trump is going to win. The market doesn't.
So I wanted to go a little deeper with that analysis because it's obvious, it's easy to see why Trump would be perceived to be the front runner right now.
Sure, but I mean, 3 weeks ago he was the underdog, and there's probably two or three reversals left
Turns
in
of
there.
the worm.
Yeah, I just think
the market, like, there's too many turns of the worm between here and November.
Sure, and I just think that in the end, it is going to be very hard, except for his faithful. It is going to be very hard for people to push the button or pull the lever for Trump. I just think it's really hard. I mean, there's far more danger with Trump than there is with any other candidate possible.
How do you figure?
What do you mean?
You could argue that a president with dementia who's non-functional and a bunch of people who you don't know who they are actually running the country secretly behind a demented, non-functional man who's being abused as an elder is certainly of equivalent danger to openly functioning con artist and criminal.
No, you can't.
You don't even know with the.
No, you can't.
I think you can.
I don't think you can. I don't think you can. I've heard that argument, by the way. I think I heard that argument.
With the abused old man.
I think I heard that argument from either Michael Moore or Jon Stewart or somebody. I heard that argument. No, you can't. No, you can't.
So you would rather have unknown individuals administrating the country.
Sand.
You don't know. You don't know that they're sane. They're more empowered than anybody because they're totally at least Trump is out in public saying, I'm going to try to rob you blind. Stop me if
the best analogy I can give you.
Stop me if you can.
The best analogy.
Whereas with the old man, you've got a bunch of secret human beings who no one knows who they are, openly serving private interests of whoever's paying them off to do things while pretending that the demented old man is the president. I think I would rather have. Would you rather have a fight? Would you rather I come at you and say I want to fight and you know I'm coming and I want to fight, or would you rather come at you pretending that I've got your friendly grandpa here while secretly harboring people that are going to try to rob you?
I'm going to give you.
Somebody say I'm coming to rob you. So you could at least prepare yourself and have a defense.
I'm going to give you my favorite Howard Stern quote from like 30 years ago when he was interviewing Roseanne Barr before she went off the deep end. And he said, when asked, would you ever sleep with her? He said, I'd rather F sand. So
So you're saying you would rather take your chances with the secret government behind President Dementia
100%
before dealing with open con man and criminal?
Of course.
In fact, would rather F sand.
In fact, if you ran, there was let me just see. Did I save this article last night? There was. I think it was the New York Times. Yeah, it was the New York Times. It was the Thomas Friedman article from 2 days ago in the New York Times. He wrote the editorial, and it's exactly what he said. The title was "The Devil."
Vote for the secret government behind President Dementia than deal with open con man and criminal.
The devil may be enjoying this election season, but I am not. And he went on to make that exact argument. And he's like, I'm Canadian. I can't even vote in the U.S. And so, and he's a Nobel Prize winner, isn't he? He's definitely a Pulitzer. I think he's a Nobel.
But listen, I can find a Nobel Prize winner to say anything at this point.
I know. It was just a good. Come on, it was a funny article. It was a funny article.
So. All right,
but the whole point is that has nothing to do with the stock market.
My point is the market likes Trump. Your argument is, well, the market likes gridlock.
The market
And
likes
I could
gridlock,
interpret,
and the
and I
market.
could say the market likes Trump, and the market likes a Republican control of both branches of government, and the market likes less regulation,
Yeah, but it's
and the
not true.
market likes lower taxes. Well, it's no more.
But it's not
How is it
true.
less true?
It's
How do you figure?
because you just have to look at statistics. I mean, to quote another article, because I came prepared for you today, because I figured you would take that route. To quote
Well,
another
no,
article, this one out of Barron's last weekend, it was very clear in the S&P 500 since 1960, under Republican administrations, whether or not they have they have control of both houses or not, just under Republican presidents, the S&P on the $10,000 investments only going to $100,000. And under Democratic leaders, it's gone to $500,000. So it's been 5 times better. Their returns.
However, the market's performance in anticipation of deregulation and tax cuts, regardless of the political party, is always one of excess performance because markets like less regulation and lower taxes. And Trump, as a front runner, is much more likely to deliver lower taxes and less regulation than President Dementia and the secret.
Yeah, but
Santa's
your argument doesn't work because the market didn't just start rallying. You know, this is not a post-dementia argument rally. This rally started when Biden had the lead by a significant amount. So this rally was
I'll accept that.
We were 6 weeks into the rally. So when they thought Trump was for
Right,
sure.
but it extended on Trump's front runnership.
They don't care. The market doesn't care about either of these candidates. They are non-factors, neither of them. They are non-factors. I would argue that one poses more risk than the other, but they're non-factors. The market loves the gridlock, the deadlock. The market loves the inaction, and 4 more years of confusion, inaction, divisiveness, whatever it's going to be, because this is not going to be settled with either of these candidates, no matter what happens. And because of that, the market's essentially saying, we're going to have half the country that hates whoever wins. It doesn't matter who it is.
Nobody half. You're going to have 5 out of 6 people. I mean, just because people voted for Biden doesn't mean they want Biden. It just means that they were afraid of President Conman. And just because people voted for President Conman doesn't mean that they like President Conman.
Okay, so 5 out of 6.
Dementia.
So 5 out of 6.
That's why your point is, if it was nobody wins 5 out of 6 votes.
So anyway, we're at that wonderful place in history where we get to teach our kids all about how great politics is and everything else. But and we're nothing. I like the one thing I do like about all this is that nothing makes sense. Like I can't sit here on air and rationalize why the NASDAQ is at 21,000 or why the S&Ps are at almost about to hit 5,700. Like none of this. I can't. I got no good answers for any of that, which is kind of fun.
Nobody has any answers. Even my resident bull friend, Chris Vecchio, who I speak with on Overtime on a nearly daily basis, even he can't give me a reason why the market goes higher, and yet the market continues to go higher, I might add.
Well, he has reasons. He just
he can't give me additional new reasons.
No, of course not. Of course not.
He can give me the rate cuts coming in September.
Yeah, but
give me market likes unified Republican deregulatory tax cutting government.
The market likes rate cuts. Okay, we've been talking about rate cuts for 2 years. There's no topic there's no topic that has less standing with me than the market loves rate cuts. That I feel like that person should be thrown out of the market business because that doesn't. If a bond trader heard somebody say the market likes rate cuts, they would just rip your throat out, because they could not handle that. The market likes rate cuts. That's not the way this stuff works. But anyway.
So the interesting thing is that I feel like actually part of the value of there is, this is neither here nor there, but there was a joke. One of the late night shows did a joke recently that President Biden and Donald Trump have finally unified America. in a way that it hasn't been since September 11th, in that everybody in America doesn't want either of these people to be president.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
That it's actually created, like there was unification obviously right after 9/11 relative to the whole rally around defending the country, even if it fell apart as we got into the war games in the years afterwards. That not since right after 9/11 has there been so much unity in the United States.
Well, I think the fun part of it is that that we have, for the first time in a long time, we have really funny discourse. Like for the first time in a long time, all my Trumper friends can actually we can actually have a political conversation for the first time in years, because in years past it was like a sensitive topic. Like you can talk about the election now at the dinner table when you have both sides being represented because
of the unification.
Because of the unification. That's right. Like we can joke about it. Like the first when I'd be answering emails to Tasty Traders, over the years, it'd be like, don't forget, the old Michael Jordan line, Republicans buy sneakers, same thing. And people are like, don't forget, half your customers are, I'm like, yeah, I know, but we're having fun. We're talking. We're allowed to be on different sides. We can still be friends.
And now it's safe to talk about politics in public again for the first time in years.
Yeah, because
nobody likes any of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's and so the question is, if America is unified, and if the market is indifferent and America is unified. So hear me out on this, because you are yourself a junior parliamentarian from the earlier days of your career. So you participated.
That's very much the case.
Institutions. So
if I wasn't an American, I'd probably be in the House of Commons right now.
The world should benefit from this. And so if America is unified, we don't like either of these people. No one wants these people to be the president of the United States. No one even wants to look at these people, let alone have them be president of the United States. 1. 2, the market could care less about either of these people. It's going higher because of rate cuts. I had to get that last part in. Forgive me. And Tom Sosnoff says this is the low point in the history of American politics, that never again shall we face the abomination of national unification and rejecting both of these fools, or any two fools. What is the solution? If you're right that this is the low point?
Yeah.
Walk me through one to three paths that get us to not a repeat of two.
Oh, no. Well, if you're at a low point, then that's all you need. Like that's the beauty of low points. Once you're at a low point, Dylan, you don't have to, there's nothing else that has to happen. I mean, that's your bottom. Everything is going to be an uptick from here.
Just because you think there's going to be better candidates, or because you think there's going to be systemic reform?
Well, I don't think there's going to be systemic election reform, but I do think there'll be better candidates. I don't think that you're ever going to see a situation like 2024 where you have two patently unqualified candidates.
I just feel like you're tempting fate.
I don't think we could do worse.
Tempting fate again. I don't want to be talking.
We'd really have to work to do worse.
I mean, it can be done. You'd be shocked.
Yeah, it can be done. I mean, there's certain levels of being incredibly futile that we've seen in sports before. I mean, the Cubs, you didn't think they'd get any worse, and it took 40 years. So yeah.
I mean, it can always get worse, I guess, is kind of the simple premise here.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. Yeah.
And so, what is it that makes you think we're at a low point? Is it the unification? Is it the fact that there's national unity politically for the first time in decades?
It's late in the game. And so it's late in the game. So at this point, I don't think that, I think we're going to hit bottom. And I think that in the future, you're going to see, I think you're going to see just a different level of candidate, intellect, age, everything step up. This country's too strong. We're too good for this.
So you're just saying as a matter of just default humanity in the name of all that is humanity.
Yeah.
But what if our government is profoundly corrupt?
But it's not.
And I think it is. That's the thing. That's where with the biggest difference between you and me is, and when I say corrupt, I don't even mean it in the sense of like, oh, they're taking bribes or whatever. Like that's tiddlywinks. I'm saying those who nominate, like Hong Kong is a great example where they're like, here's two terrible choices created for you by the Chinese government. Which one do you want? And the people of Hong Kong were like, we don't want either of these choices because we don't want to be a subordinate of the Chinese government. Those who dictate the choices, like if you go into a restaurant and I say, would you like to eat cow shit or dog shit? And you're like, well, I'd rather not eat shit. And they're like, sorry, you have to eat shit. It's just a matter of whether you want the shit of a dog or the shit of a cow. And that to me is the corruption, which is the actual production process for candidates.
Yeah, I don't see that as the case here.
I don't reason why you don't see that.
I don't think that's where we are. I don't think that's, I think it's an open contest. I don't think anybody chose Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump chose Donald Trump, and I don't think anybody, No,
there is a process. It's primaries.
Yeah, I understand that, but I mean,
that primaries are controlled by party extremists with very little voter participation, and the political parties themselves, which then prevent any candidate from even existing. And most human beings, even within the party, don't vote in the primary. The problem is the primary system is non-functional.
Well,
that's where the corruption lies.
The Dems didn't even have a primary this year, and the Republican primaries were pretty lopsided. Well,
the Republican primaries excluded the front runner the entire time.
Who was the front runner?
Donald Trump.
Well, I don't know what you mean excluded.
I'm saying Donald Trump didn't participate in a single. All the other candidates were forced to go through a churn of debates and whistle stop tours and whatever. And Donald Trump did not participate in any of those things. I mean, one of the things that I think about is the Australian rule that makes both voting mandatory, but also the process that a politician must go through also mandatory. That the idea that basically you can game the system, whether it's the Democrats, we just won't have a primary and we'll hide President dementia. And then by the time they figure out that he has dementia, it will be too late. And then the Republicans, or President Conman is like, well, I already have enough votes. I'll just ignore all this.
There's a certain part of his strategy that I agree with. If I was in his shoes in that situation, and I didn't have to participate, I wouldn't want to put those other people on the board. I'd rather let them kill each other. And there's no reason. There's no reason he didn't have to be there.
But now you're gaming the can. My point is you're gaming that. Ultimately,
I don't know if you are. I think he did what anybody else would do in his situation there. And what he did there doesn't bother me.
And the puppets running President Dementia would do what they did. I mean, if you're just saying the strategy is to retain power at all costs, then the skill of retaining power at all costs.
Well, we don't have a rule that says you have to participate in debates or you have to do this or that. You have to vote. That kind of thing.
Exactly. And I'm saying that if you want to de-corrupt, if you actually want to not have the world's worst political candidates and not end up having to vote between President Conman and President Dementia, then you would need to alter the candidate selection process. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think we have much bigger issues in the sense that, I think if there's other things that you really care about that over the next 4 years, is this conversation, like, to me, this conversation is going to waste 4 years of everybody's life. Like it's going to be,
And it's an important 4 years.
I know. Well, especially for us as we get a little older, it's a very important 4 years. Like I don't want to waste 4 more years having the same stupid argument every day, every week, every month, every year, and politically and everything else. And as it ties back to stock, I mean, yeah, I don't want to have this. It's like I'll never get that time back. It would be nice to have some somewhat intelligent discourse.
So I'm short the NASDAQ to no success for me. I'll tell you that much.
I'm
As
short,
a result of my Monday bravado.
I'm short the NASDAQ too. And I have the ugly NASDAQ short on, which is just straight futures. So it's not paying. Let's put it that way. I got some work to do, but this move has been unbelievable. We've been on for, almost 40 minutes and we haven't even really moved a tick or two either direction. But, what happens every day is we basically go up 1%. We just sit there.
I've been watching.
Yeah. And it's all the same, it's the same chip stocks. It's the same AI stocks. It's not a broad-based market. This is a market. I think somebody wrote me today and said there is the smallest number of stocks ever that are carrying a market to a new high, but this is our 37th or 38th new high. We're only at the All-Star break. So you're only talking about 180 days into the year, of which let's call it 130 are trading days, and 37 of them, almost 30% are new highs. It's crazy.
It's because the market loves Trump.
I won't even touch that. I'm Tom Sosnoff.
So, all right, listen, we have to play the parlor game because I haven't had a chance to really talk to you. So does Biden withdraw or not before we wrap things up? Is he ultimately the candidate or not?
As of yesterday, I would have said no. He does not withdraw because he is very intent. Personally, he's very intent. I do think he's getting bad advice all along. I think this was an easy decision to make, before this race started, and they screwed up. I would say as of early yesterday, I thought the answer would be no. I think I'm changing my answer to yes, he's going to. What do you think?
Because of the New York Times op-ed and the George Clooney jazz and all the sort of like the sort of mainstreamification of
Yeah.
You got to go with vibes.
At some point, you've got to take one for the team.
And Kamala's the candidate.
I don't know if they have any other choice.
I agree with that. So I think he goes. I think Kamala's the candidate, and I think she's the next president of the United States. And I think that is going to be you want a different conversation?
I think most of the Trumpers will come around and they'll love her.
Oh yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I think they'll be the first ones on. I think they'll be right in there, day one. I think the Trumpers are going to be right in there, right in there.
Hey, look at the bright side. Look at the bright side. Your condo in Italy will go up in value.
Yeah, listen, I was looking at the Clooney stuff. I was just reading like all the sort of headlines, from the papers and whatever, and I reached the same inflection in my personal opinion today that you were just describing, which is, you know what? Odds are he's going to go more than odds are that he's not going to go. But even if it's 60-40 this way or 60-40 that way.
Yep. Do you want me to tell you why? Do you want me to tell you how they do it?
The only option they have is the vice president.
Yeah.
And I think that really people don't want President Trump to be the president as much as they may not want, and so that I think all of a sudden Kamala Harris becomes the front runner for the next president of the United States quickly.
And I'm telling you also, I'll give you the timing. This is what the NFL loves to do when it comes to sports is they love to make a big announcement right when like the NBA is going to do their draft, or right when like the NFL
at the Republican convention
the day before the Republican convention.
And just cover the newspapers for 3 days.
Because that is exactly what the NFL would do. They're so damn
brilliant.
They're the best. They're the best in the world. Take any corporation, the NFL is the best. The NFL steals the headlines no matter what from everybody in the entire sports world, gambling world, everything, every time they have a chance. They save everything. If the Dems, hopefully they've learned anything, you do it the day before, just steal all the headlines, dominate that week, you're done.
So then if you're the Republicans, the only thing you can do is move your convention to after the DNC convention.
You can't move a convention.
Listen, at this point, all bets are off.
You can't. It's great.
Because if you're the Republicans, they're going to do the switcheroo. I mean, that's the obvious move. Anyway, the MAGA crowd is going to be very excited about the new candidate, I'm sure. I think that if you had, I need to look. What's that betting website that
predict it?
I got to go buy some Kamala calls.
Oh, they're bid up. They're bid up to the. Bid? Oh yeah, they're bid up to the moon. Everything is so out of. It seems a little out of whack price wise, but no, she's the betting favorite in a big way.
Yeah.
She's the.
She's the next president of the United States of America, is what she is.
I wouldn't know. Not so sure about that.
Okay. It's her dementia or the con man.
Yeah, I know, but I'm going to give you the odds. Then we can end this. Right. But Democratic, you know what? Biden just took the lead. 2024 Democratic presidential nominee, Biden 46 cents. Kamala Harris, 39. So that's a binary bet.
Sure.
And on the Republican side, no, they just have the VP. They just have the VP. But you want to know the odds of?
Sure.
No, that's it. I mean, what am I saying? It's 47-40 right now. They just changed it. Who will win the Democratic presidential nomination? 47 cents, you win $1. Biden, 40 to $1 would be Kamala, and Gavin Newsom is 9 cents. Hillary Clinton at 7 cents. Michelle Obama at 6 cents, and Whitmer at 7 cents. I don't see Dylan Ratigan on this list.
I mean, listen, we need to get him. I need to get my name. I need to start circulating my
my favorite, and he's on the list, is JB Pritzker. You can buy JB for 2 cents, and I love JB. I love him.
All right, well, listen,
he's the greatest.
You can put your 2 cents in there. You can throw it. That'll be your 2 cents.
I would love to see JB, because JB would be he'd be the one guy that he's the fiercest of them all. He's the best. But I don't think he's going to throw his hat in the ring. All right, that's it. We got to go. We're late. Dylan, have a great week. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back next Wednesday.
All right.
We'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.